Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1079B, and today's date is September 19th, 2016, and the title of the episode is the U.S. government preparing to declare a national emergency to postpone the elections? Let's get into the economic collapse, political, and geopolitical news. Now, we can see at this point that the United States government central bankers, they are pushing hard for war. We saw what happened in Syria. We saw that the United States just came out and said, you know something, we're going to bomb the Syrian army because we need to get our forces, the Islamic State, al-Qaeda, al-Nusra, the Free Syrian Army, into position. We don't care if the world sees it. Hopefully nobody sees what we're doing, but if they do, we still have to do what we need to do. And we can see that the United States government central bankers, they are pushing this war in many different areas. And we know with North Korea, they are pushing very hard because they're hoping that North Korea takes the bait and does something. They're hoping that Russia now, or Syria, does something because they attacked. They're hoping that they would counter with an attack. But so far, everyone is keeping cooler heads. And we can see out in South Korea, they are definitely preparing for war. And it seems that the citizens there realize what is happening because they see the writing on the wall. They see more military assets being moved into their nation. They see military budgets being increased. They see the United States bringing in more forces. They see a lot of drills occurring. And right now, a total of 17,229 South Korean men, well, they renounced their citizenship between 2012 and 2016 to avoid performing their military duty. Now, South Korean men between 18 and 35, they must serve in the military for about 2 years. And they decided, you know something, we're not going to be a part of this. And they decided to move to the U.S. and become a citizen, to Canada, become a citizen, to Japan, and they became a citizen. But I hate to tell them this. No matter what, they will be involved in this war that is coming very soon. There's no way to avoid it. Now, NATO, their plans are to station 4 battalions totaling 4,000 troops in the Baltic region by May 2017. Now, of course, this is for Russian aggression. They'll be battle ready to deal with Russia once we move into this war. And we've been watching this for a very long time. This is nothing new. We've been watching military assets, troop movement. We've been watching the provocations that the United States is using with each nation, trying to convince everyone that these countries, these players, are causing problems. But when you really look at the situation, it's the United States. Now, this is all combined, and it all has to do with the economy and the central banking system falling apart and this new transition that is coming. It all has to do with all of this. Because to make this transition, this is a huge transition. This is a transition away from the dollar. This is a transition onto a completely new system. When we came off the gold standard, yes, they just took the same dollar and they moved it to the petrodollar system and they controlled it that way. This is brand new. This is completely something different. And they're going to need a war for that transition period because we'll have a collapse. They need to blame it on something else. They need the war. So all of this is connected. And we can see that the petrodollar is dying. They're trying to prop it up as long as they possibly can because they're trying to get everything planned and ready to go for this next huge event. And we can see right now that U.S. troops have arrived in Mosul in Iraq. Of course, they're saying they're fighting the Islamic State. How can they be fighting the Islamic State when the United States government central bankers pay for the Islamic State? They arm the Islamic State. They train the Islamic State. So what they're really doing is they're fighting against those individuals that are looking to take back the country, who want the puppet government out of their country. We see the unity government. They have countered with attacks at the oil ports. We know that the Libyan elected government, at least one of them, has control of the oil ports, and the unity government that the United States government and the coalition forces and the UN put together, they're trying to get these back. That's their main goal in this country, to take control of the oil, take control of the central bank, take control of the monetary system. And this is what they've been trying to do. We see the US-backed moderate rebels. Well, they have executed 26 civilians, including 9 teenagers in Aleppo who attempted to leave their neighborhood via humanitarian corridors provided by the Syrian government. And these are the same groups that the United States government central bankers are backing, who are saying that, yes, these people are fighting for the people of Syria. But what we've been seeing is that the moderate rebels have been torturing the people in Syria, not Assad. Actually, the people in Syria look at Assad and say, he is a war hero. He brought in Russia. He's fighting the terrorists, getting rid of the terrorist groups, and he never abandoned the people there. Am I saying he's a swell, fantastic guy? No. But this is what the people are looking at. This is what the people see. And the United States government central bankers realize that if the elections should occur right now, or any time in the future, he will win. Because Russia has always said the United States nor Russia will decide, or any other country will decide, who is going to be the ruler of Syria. The people will decide. And the United States government central bankers, this is what they're most worried about. They're worried about what the people are going to decide. Now, we understand the U.S. government, they bombed the Syrian armed forces. And we see that the U.S. is flying reconnaissance drones over that area. And they were flying it before they attacked, and they are flying it after they attacked. And it looks like the Syrian government downed one of their drones. And we can see right now, this whole attack, well, it was planned. It was pre-planned. They knew exactly what they were doing. They knew exactly where they were flying. They knew exactly who they were bombing. And we're getting this information from a leaked source saying, yes, this was to allow the Islamic State, al-Qaeda, al-Nusra, the moderate rebels, to move into a certain area because they were ready to move right into the area once the bombing started. And we can see right now the U.S. is trying to cover up what they've done. They're trying to make it look like it was an accident, a mistake. But we could see that the UK was involved, Australia was involved, and we can see that this was a complete plan to help out those terrorist groups. And we see right now they're trying to provoke Assad, provoke Russia into doing something. Because they'll say it's a mistake, and they're hoping that they will counter the attacks. And this is something we need to watch. Now, we understand at this point that Turkey is involved in Syria. And we can see right now, Erdogan, he is out there saying, yes, we are creating this safe zone. And we knew that they were going to do this. And what he's saying is that his military is planning to create a 5,000 square kilometer safe zone within the country, to within just 50 kilometers of Aleppo. And this will give the United States government central bankers a launching pad. They're cleaning the entire area out. We can see the United States government central bankers, they are back in a corner. They're losing ground. The Russia and the Syrian forces, they're destroying their terrorist groups. And we can see right now on CNN, they're out there saying, Syria ceasefire is Bashar al-Assad preparing to breach it? Well, the ceasefire ends today. He didn't breach anything. Actually, it was United States government central bankers that breached it. Actually, if you look at the ceasefire agreement, of course, only the section that we were allowed to see, because the other section was kept hidden from the request of the United States government central bankers. They didn't want the people to see it because this would cause a problem. But when you really look at it, this was the ceasefire deal. The United States was supposed to separate the terrorists from the moderate rebels. They didn't do it. They were supposed to adhere to the ceasefire. They didn't do it. They violated it about 133 times. The Syrian government, they adhered to the truce. Moscow adhered to the truce. And we can see right now, they didn't fulfill any of the commitments under the Geneva agreements. They just didn't do it. What we are seeing is that the Syrian rebels, the moderate rebels, they've taken advantage of the ceasefire. The United States has taken advantage of the ceasefire. And right now, the ceasefire has ended. Now, the United States is out there saying that they would like to prolong the ceasefire. Now, think about why would they want to prolong the ceasefire? They want the ceasefire prolonged because they are losing territory very quickly. They need to give Turkey time to carve out this area. They need time to regroup. They need time to bring in more terrorists because they're getting ready for a major offensive in Aleppo. And they're trying to create the safe zone. So they need time. This is why they want the ceasefire. It's not because they want peace. Their mission, their agenda, their goal is always the same. Remove Assad. Get Syria, go into Iran. The problem now is that they're on the losing end. And like wild animals, when these individuals are on the losing end and they have no other alternative, they're going to come out with their claws. They're going to do things to try to give them an advantage. And that means they're going to use illegal weaponry like more chemical weapons, white phosphorus. They'll create events around the world. They'll do whatever they have to do to get where they needed to go. Remember, many reports ago, we talked about a tactical nuke that was snuck into Syria around the Aleppo area. They haven't used it yet. It's there. And when push comes to shove, I wouldn't be surprised if they set it off. Of course, they're not going to take the blame for it. They're going to tell us that Assad has nuclear weapons, or he smuggled one in, and he set it off. So we can see the situation is really starting to heat up right now. And as time goes on, it's going to get worse and worse. Now, over the weekend, we discussed this on Sunday. We saw bombs go off in New Jersey, pipe bomb in New Jersey. We saw a stabbing in Minnesota. We saw another bomb in New York. And what they're saying is that these bombs were set off by cell phones. And when we look at these occurrences of these bombs that were going off, they were really in areas where there weren't a lot of people. They were placed in a metal garbage can, another garbage can. There was one just in New Jersey where the police discovered they brought in a bomb robot to take care of it, and it exploded in the early hours in Elizabeth, New Jersey. And we can see right now that all of this, when you look at it, is being used for two reasons. One, of what happened in Syria. They needed to get that news story off of the corporate media, which they did. Two, they needed to start to convince everyone we're in crisis. There's something going on. But they can't link it to terrorism because we can see that their story gets kind of mixed up when they start doing this. Their narrative doesn't flow. because once they mention terrorism, you have to remember the United States government central bankers, they're bringing in Syrian refugees. They're allowing illegals to come over the border, and they keep them in the country. They don't vet many of these individuals. They really don't have a great vetting process. So people start to wonder, and of course Trump uses it for his advantage, where he says, well, see, this is what happens. It's these individuals that are coming in. And we see the government needs to stay away from that because they don't want to give ammunition to Trump. So they're trying to stay away from the terrorist angle. The Minnesota one, hard to get around because the Islamic State was out there saying that, yes, he's part of our group. And of course, this is another portion of the government that controls that narrative. And we can see that our government is split. I mean, we have foreign bodies controlling Congress. We have central banks, corporations controlling the executive branch and Congress, along with foreign governments, the shadow government. And we can see right now their main agenda is to put fear in the American people, to make them seem like we're in crisis mode. Now, Dabu7, he had a video out there saying that the exact locations of these bombs were in the Clancy video game division, where they were in the exact same location, which is very interesting. We also see that, like every other false flag, they need to have a long, drawn-out chase, a shootout. The one in Minnesota, he died. The one in New Jersey, Ahmad Khan Rahami, looks like he had a gunfight. He's still living. But these individuals, they're set up. They're patsies. They use them. What's very interesting is that the family, the Rahami family, well, they had a family restaurant in Elizabeth. And there were individuals that said that, they were open too late. There was too much noise. The Elizabeth police repeatedly forced the closure of their family restaurant. The father of Ahmad Rahami sued the town of Elizabeth, and the lawsuit alleges one man frequently entered the restaurant and told family members, Muslims don't belong here and Muslims are trouble. And we can see that the father of Ahmad decided to sue the town of Elizabeth, and it looks like the lawsuit really didn't go anywhere. But what a great way of getting rid of the lawsuit, having the son as a patsy involved in this type of bombing. Maybe he thought he was working with the FBI. We need some more information, because most likely the FBI was in contact. Most likely that he was a patsy. And we'll have to follow this story further. But when we look at this, and when you look at the big picture here, what do we see? We see many different events occurring at once. Right now, NYPD Chief of Department Carlos Gomez confirms that New York City is at the highest level of alert since 9/11. And travelers can expect delays, and the NYPD, they're bringing in more law enforcement, more cops. They're going to be doing more checkpoints around the area. They're going to be searching individuals. And we can see right now, this is creating an environment where people believe we're in a crisis. And we talked about how this is going to play out with the elections. Because what we're seeing right now is the beginning stages. Because it's not happening everywhere throughout the country. It's happening in a small location. And that's all they need. All they need is this to occur in this one little location. And if they have it multiple times, maybe they will spread it across the country. But they need to build the crisis. And if we see them doing this, and we see more of these type of events, and if you really look at the event, and you look where the bombs were placed, because if there's really a terrorist, or there's someone's trying to carry out this type of an attack, you place this in a bus terminal, you place this in a train terminal, or on a train, or in a plane. You don't put it in a dumpster in the back alley where no one is. What we're seeing right now is to create fear, to make us think we're in a crisis. And we can see right now, if the poll numbers do not go in favor of the central bank, of the shadow government, of the elite, we will start seeing more of these events leading up to the election, and most likely have a huge event where they'll be able to say, we need to postpone these elections, of course, temporarily. And we're heading down that path. Now, if we believe their story about the war on terror, and we believe everything they say, well, it's not working. Because think about it, they spent $5 trillion to combat terrorism. But since 2002, terrorism is up 6,500%. So if you believe their official story, whatever they're doing is not working. And the question is, why isn't it working? Because the terror is created by the governments. They're created by the FBI, the CIA, and all these agencies. All of this is propaganda. If you notice, since that law came into effect, where the United States government central bankers can use propaganda on the people, we've seen an increase of events because they're allowed to do it. They're allowed to lie to the people. They're allowed to put on the performance, the illusion that there's problems. And we can see right now we're coming to that point where this perfect storm in November is approaching rapidly. And when we see these events escalate, and there's more of them, and they get larger and larger, we know that we're on track for the president to declare a national emergency, to tell us that we need to temporarily postpone the elections because of what is happening in this country. So we need to watch what is going on, because we can see right now they're on this path. Now, does it mean they're going to continue on this path? We'll have to wait and see. We have to wait to see what happens next week and the week after. Because if we see more of these and they become worse and worse, we know where this is headed. We know exactly what their plan is. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.